Hello and welcome back to my channel, and today we're talking all about how to know when to stop eating dessert and what to do if it feels like you can't stop. You kind of feel out of control and you want to be eating intuitively. Before we dive in, make sure that you give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful and hit subscribe to make sure that you never miss any of my videos. And lastly, I highly encourage you to look at all the notes below because I have a new free 90-second quiz that's going to help you identify what is holding you back from releasing the emotional and mental weight of obsessively thinking about food. Let's get into the show. In order to understand when you need to stop eating dessert, or not even when you need to, but when it's most aligned for you to stop eating dessert, we have to understand the difference between fullness cues and satisfaction cues. Because most of the time when you're eating dessert, you're eating it after a meal, right? Like most of the time. And so let's say that you finished eating dinner and you stopped eating dinner because you were full. Like you felt filled up, right? The dinner completely filled you. You're full. I don't really know how else to say it. And then you want dessert. You're already full when you start eating dessert. And so most people wait for another fullness cue to tell them to stop eating dessert. But you were full to begin with. So then people wait too long, and instead of a normal fullness cue, they get a, oh, I'm like stuffed. Right? Like they get a stuffed cue, or they get a, now I feel kind of nauseous cue. And then it feels like you've eaten too much, you've gone too far cue, the guilt, the spiral, etc. We want to avoid that point where it feels like, oh, I've tipped it over the edge a little bit too much. Now I feel like I've overeaten. A fullness cue is when you feel full and satisfied, but like physically, you're no longer hungry. But then there's something else that I like to call a satisfaction cue. And that satisfaction cue is what's going to cue you in to the fact that you're good and you're satisfied and you are finished with your dessert. The satisfaction cue isn't so much about fullness, it's more so about the feeling that you have absorbed the taste and the texture and the experience of the dessert. You've enjoyed it. It's like it's so hard to describe, but it's like quenching thirst, right? It's like, ooh, that cookie, it was so warm and chocolatey, and I got to have pleasure in this experience with the cookie. And I fully was with the cookie. I tasted it. I experienced the full embodiment of being with this cookie. And obviously, having this type of relationship with your dessert adds a beautiful layer of mindfulness, right? Mindful eating isn't just about eating slowly or eating without distractions, but that is for another show. When you are thinking about, am I satisfied or not? In order to know if you're satisfied, you have to be present. You have to be aware. You have to be you have to be there, mindful with your dessert. And when you feel like, okay, I've really had the taste of it, I have enjoyed this, I'm satisfied, I'm good, I don't need more, that's when you stop. And so the amount of dessert that's perfect for you, like your perfect portion, is going to be very different from somebody else's perfect portion. I'm also not saying that you should only have 3 bites of dessert because after that it no longer tastes good. I remember that was like a diet culture-y thing that I heard, like the first bite for the taste, the second bite for the da-da-da, and then the third bite, and then you're good. And that's so diet culture-y, and that is not the vibe here. You deserve a full dessert, right? Full in quotes, whatever that means to you. And you're gonna find that happy place, that happy medium where you've had enough that you feel satisfied. You've had enough where it hit the spot. You've had enough where you feel like you've got an abundance of pleasure, like that was an abundant experience. And it didn't make you feel physically ill, because again, you're probably already full before you started eating the dessert. And so you have some wiggle room with your fullness. It's not like you were full from dinner and then there's no more room left, unless you feel really stuffed from dinner, but typically you're full and there's a little bit of wiggle room. Like, there is room left for dessert. When you eat an amount of dessert that satisfies you on a mental and a soul level, but doesn't compromise your physical health, that is when you are really checking off all the boxes with eating with love and intuition for your holistic health. You're taking care of your mental health, taking care of your soul health, and you are not compromising your physical health. Then this begs the question of, well, what if I never feel satisfied? What if I never reach that point where it feels like enough? That is where this conversation goes next. Satisfaction is abundance. It's like, I have enough. I am in overflow. It is enough. I'm good. I'm safe. There's many reasons why you might not feel like you're ever satisfied with food. We'll go over a few of those reasons. One reason is because the food isn't really the thing that you need. Like, imagine that you're trying to fill up your car so that you can go on a road trip, and your car needs gas, but you just keep putting water into the gas tank. No matter how much water you give your car, it's not going to be enough to get you on your road trip. Same thing here with food. So many people are using food to cope with emotions, and they're using food to fill up this emotional void. So no matter how much food you eat, you'll never be satisfied. It will never be enough, because it's not even the food that you really need. Perhaps it is healing on a level of comfort or safety or protection or self-worth or self-love. It's really my specialty when it comes to helping women heal their relationship with food, because it's typically like 99% of the time not about food. So that's one reason why you might never feel satisfied. Another reason is if you've put this food on a pedestal. So I was recently chatting with one of my clients who's in the Food Freedom Collective, and she was saying that hummus is the food that she's having trouble with. Every time she eats hummus, she just wants to eat like the entire tub. It's never enough. She knows she's full, but she feels like she can't stop eating it. And so I asked, was there a point in time where you were restricting hummus? She said, yes. That is lack, right? I said, satisfaction is a state of abundance. And so when you're still in this state of lack, like there's not enough time for me to eat this hummus, there's not enough opportunity, and you feel like you're catching up from that point of lack, you're operating in lack, it's never gonna feel like enough, and then you're gonna go overboard. What we wanna do is understand that there will always be more of that food. Even if it feels like the most special food in the world, even if it's from a restaurant that you don't go to that often or you only go once a year, there's always more. There's always abundance. There's always another opportunity to have that food. Alchemizing the lack and the fear and the scarcity into abundance is an absolutely crucial part of healing your relationship with food. Now, with this client of mine, we were also talking about the fact that she has this subconscious fear that the food freedom isn't going to last. If she has this fear that the food freedom isn't going to last, again, that puts her in a state of lack of time. We have to enjoy this hummus now, because there might be a time where I'm not on the food freedom train and I go back to restricting. And so in order to prepare for that potential moment of restriction again, I need to take advantage of the food freedom version of me who allows hummus. So let's eat it all now. When I brought that up to her, she was like, yes, that's exactly what's happening. This is where we lean into full-on healing, full-on self-trust. Trust that you are healing your relationship with food. Trusting that you are the type of woman that commits to her healing. Trusting that your body will continue to be on your team. Now, the third reason why you might not feel satisfied with your food is because you're not building enough of a mindful connection with your food. So with the hummus example, I told my client to just think about how amazing it is that she's allowing herself to eat this food that she loves when in the past she wasn't. That is so beautiful. That's a gift. Hummus, it's so delicious, it's smooth, it's creamy. What a gift to the earth that hummus is. When she's eating it, I said to her, think about honoring the hummus. If hummus were a person, would hummus feel very respected by the way that you're eating it? And she said, no, probably not. And I agreed with her. So what would it look like if you ate the hummus or if you ate the dessert with respect? for that dessert, honoring that dessert. You hear a lot of people talk about respecting yourself, honoring yourself while eating intuitively and working on your body confidence. And I completely agree with that too. But what about the food? This is a relationship with food. It is a two-way street, meaning the food respects you by giving you all the nutrients and the pleasure, but you have to respect the food too. And when you do, when you actually build a relationship, a two-way street with food, and you start respecting, honoring that food, your satisfaction levels are going to go way up. You're going to actually feel satisfied. You're going to feel the satisfaction cue, and it's going to be so much easier to put the food away when you've reached that point of your perfect aligned portion. It's not about portion control. It's not about that at all. Again, that can be for another episode. This is about choosing an amount that is honoring your physical body, it's honoring your mental body, and it's honoring your soul body, so that you are relying on the satisfaction cue. You're genuinely feeling satisfied by the food without pushing past that point of uncomfortable fullness. That is exactly how you can know when to stop eating the dessert or any other food that you love in the perfect amount for you, especially if you feel like it's hard for you to stop, or you never feel satisfied, or you never know when to stop. So I hope that this video has been super duper helpful. I would love to hear your reflections in the comments below. Let me know if any of those other topics that I briefly mentioned are of interest to you so that I can make more videos on that. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Check out all of the links below and connect with me on Instagram. I can't wait to chat with you more there.